Today I got a message from a friend, someone I've known for a long time, someone who's been in my life for a long time. Not someone I see all the time, but someone I care about. And they sent me this letter from a medical professional, and the medical professional was going on about vaccines and mask wearing, and I hated it. I didn't enjoy anything I was reading. I thought if I read this properly, I'll start having a bad time. I'm just going to skim it. Probably only skimmed halfway through it before I bailed. I decided I'm not reading this shit. And I thought, maybe I should message a mutual friend and say, are you aware that our mutual friend is into this anti-vax, anti-mask nonsense? But then I thought, what if they're into it as well? I am a good person and I don't deserve this. I don't need to be dealing with, but it's everywhere now, isn't it? And it's not that new. There are people, I have neighbours, right, and I will not talk to them about anything that's real. So that's climate change, the way Australia treats refugees, asylum seekers, things that actually matter. I definitely wouldn't talk to them about the way Australia treats people who are unemployed, which is, like the way we treat refugees, is this very convoluted program of just breaking people down. And then this model is exported around the world, where a playground, a laboratory, a workshop, a testing ground for fascist concepts. And some people would hear me saying that and say, come on, Sean, you're talking about Australia. It's a wealthy country. It's a Western civilization, democracy, free speech. It's a fucking tip. It's a rubbish tip. I would put it like this. Half the population are the seagulls flying around the tip and feasting, and the other half are the tip, are the scrap heap, are the human junkyard, and we're not even needed for parts at this point. So these are real issues that I would possibly even become sexually aroused if people who've got time to get into nonsense about vaccines and masks, if they got into this shit, the problem of the growing human scrap heap, I would fucking shoot semen across the room. A fucking rainbow would form through a rope of semen that I have created. Such is my joy that people are focused on what's real. The problem, and I've said this before, is that in Australia, people who own property are above the terror line. Below the terror line People are terrified of what's going to happen to them. A lot of people below the terror line are, it's already happening. These are young people, many of them, and their lives are already over unless things change. It's just so funny. I get a fucking letter, not even with the message connected to it saying, hey, read this. It's just dumped at my doorstep like a cat dropping off a mouse. And I'm supposed to guess what this shit means. So one of the ideas apparently is that there was a worldwide untested release of vaccines. People were used as guinea pigs against their will. Except I've had 4 shots and I'm fine. I've heard of people getting COVID. A friend of mine who lives around the corner has had COVID twice this year already. That shit's real. That's happening. People are still going to hospital. People are still dying in significant numbers. We're not hearing any news about bad side effects to the vaccines, nothing, or bad side effects or psychological side effects to having to wear a mask. I mean, I suffer from pretty fucking outrageous claustrophobia. I can wear a goddamn mask. What are you people fucking talking about? But you know what I reckon it, you know what oh my God, you know what I reckon it is? A while back, I was involved in the Wikileaks party, right? Whatever you think about that, I don't fucking care. It's just another one of the fucking many amazing fucking things I've been involved in, you know? I'm a very cool person who does awesome things. And if you don't like that, it actually makes me feel even better about myself. I don't know why I'm getting so defensive right now. Actually, no, I do, because it's WikiLeaks. Okay, so I was involved with the WikiLeaks party, and it attracted a type of people who were into all sorts of ideas about how the world worked. And I remembered we were sitting around a table one night and having a conversation with several of these WikiLeaks volunteers volunteering, you know, for the party. And they were asking, questions like, well, if phones don't cause brain cancer, right, where's the evidence that it doesn't cause brain cancer? And I'm trying to say, well, no, there's no evidence that it doesn't cause brain cancer because it doesn't cause brain cancer. Now, back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, people worried about brain cancer caused by holding a phone next to your head. And it turned out to not be a problem. People worried about it, which was fair enough, but we've had we've had enough time. No one's got fucking brain cancer. No tumours have been detected. It's not a fucking thing. And so I presented this. I said, so we can safely dismiss any concerns about mobile phone brain cancer. And these people said, well, no, you can't, because there's no evidence. And why is there no evidence? That's the question I have. And I realised, oh my fucking God, you can't even have a conversation with people who go down this track where they become fixated on a thing like a dog with a bone. So I get up this morning, I check my phone, I got a message, and it's a message about a medical professional who's saying, I am handing in my gun and my badge as a medical professional, and I want a refund for my membership of the medical fucking establishment, which I thought was pretty special on top of, it's like, I'm a freedom fighter, I'm standing on my principles, and I also want you to give me money for being so brave and so courageous. Like fucking... Anyway, so like I still wear a mask when I go to shops and stuff, and I'm absolutely stunned when I hear particularly Americans talking about masks. Like it's... In the States is a fucking absolute nightmare. Unfortunately, Australia is not far behind. The Victorian State Premier, for instance, did, I think, something like 100 press conferences in a row, 100 days in a row, something like that. He was just on TV every single day with the press conferences about the pandemic, and then suddenly he stopped. And he stopped talking about the pandemic, and all the people stopped talking about the pandemic, but the hospitals are still buckling. If you break a leg, how long are you going to wait? How long are you going to wait outside a hospital in a tent to get treatment? People are dying waiting to get into hospitals, to get into the emergency room. And there's no sense to it. There's no sense to any of this. Australia's anti-protest laws are becoming more and more extreme all the time. Ironically, it was made illegal to wear a mask at a protest in Victoria by the so-called progressive government. So, I mean, to be honest, that's another reason for me to continue to wear a mask until the end of fucking time. Because it's funny as well, isn't it? But anyway, the powers that be have decided, we're just going to pretend the pandemic is over. They're not going to come right out and say the pandemic is over. They can't say that because it's obvious that it's still happening. But so that's what I was going to say. Right, anti-protest laws. Blockade Australia is a network of people or a group of people, and they staged some protests about climate change recently up in Sydney, and the response they got from the cops was mind-blowing. Today, also up in Sydney, in New South Wales, university students protesting their university teachers. Anyway, at a university, pepper sprayed for protesting. Or maybe it wasn't at a university. Maybe it was another location, but it was the same issue. It was about university stuff. Was it about students or was it about employees at university? I mean, well, to be honest, I can't fucking keep up with all of the things that are falling apart right now. If you work anywhere, the chances are that you are being royally rogered to death by your employers, and if you protest, you will be pepper sprayed by the cops, which is what happened to these people today. But meanwhile, anti-vax fuckheads, knobheads, cockheads, all the heads, were protesting outside a children's hospital recently, actually blocking an entrance so ambulances couldn't get in, which is, like, that's the big argument that's always used against protesters. What if an ambulance is trying to get through? Well, this time this was actually the case. They were actually outside a children's hospital protesting with their insane horse shit about vaccines and masks, and the cops did nothing. So what I'm talking about here is just the really insane, strong sense of powerlessness, and also a sense of almost mental fragmentation, trying to take it all in, which was, I stay on top of it with, a routine of exercise. And anyway, but this morning getting a message from a friend where it's some bullshit about this vaccine shit, and it's presented to me like, here you go. And then I want to talk to another friend about it and say, are you aware that our friend is into this shit? And then I think, but what if that friend is into this shit as well? And then I think, my whole life is falling apart. you know, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it going around. So good.